Hello and Assalamualaikum everyone. How are you today? Doing good? Good? Alhamdulillah. So, welcome to our today's webinar. Don't hide, speak out, stop sexual harassment in the workplace on the YouTube live. So, thanks to everyone for coming online to join this webinar. So, before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Nur Halimah binti Zaihan, and I am a moderator for today's webinar. So, in today's webinar session, we will share you about many interesting points on a sexual harassment topic. And the aim of this webinar is we would like to share some knowledge for the audience regarding this topic. So before we continue the next activity, let this webinar start with doa recitation by Muhammad Iqmal bin Abdurrahman.
All right, thank you, Halima. Let's begin the ceremony today with the recitation of Al-Fatiha. Binabil karimi wa alihi wa ashabihil kiramil Fatiha. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Arrahmanir rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, hanya padamu sahaja kami panjangkan kesyukuran atas segala rahmat dan berkah-Mu. Bersempena dengan majlis pada hari ini, kami mohon inayah dan taufik-Mu. Kurniakanlah kesejahteraan dan kebahagiaan kepada kami. Bukakanlah hati-hati kami, lapangkanlah dada kami, supaya kami dapat mengisi ilmu dan pengetahuan yang berguna untuk agama, bangsa dan negara. Ya Allah, kurniakanlah kepada kami kekayaan ilmu pengetahuan dan hiasilah diri kami dengan sifat lemah lembut. Serta muliakanlah kami dengan ketakwaan dan indahkanlah diri kami dengan kesihatan. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amin amin ya rabbal alamin.
Amin ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you Muhammad Iqmal. Okay, now let this webinar inaugurate by Deputy Vice Chancellor of Student Development and Campus Lifestyle, Dr. Shamsul Fauzi bin Osman.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Halimah. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Alhamdulillah, today we are together for this wonderful occasion. This particular webinar is a very important webinar for me and us at the PPJHK, Pembangunan Pelajar and Gaya Hidup Campus, because it is one of the issues that we have to face now currently in our society. So I would first and foremost like to congratulate the PKS and the HR warriors for the effort, for the initiative to actually organize this seminar. A very big thanks to Datin AZRENE and Puan Nur ASHIQAH for being willing to join us tonight and share their thoughts and ideas about the issue. The title today, Don't Hide, Speak Out, Stop Sexual Harassment in Workplace, is a very important issue, as I said earlier, which is happening a lot in our society and is getting to be an issue that is not as bad as the pandemic, but an issue that may bring a lot of troubles in the future, because us at the campus itself, we do have such an issue. We do have cases relevant to sexual harassment, and we would like to have this being spoken or talk about in the open, so that everyone would get an idea of what it is and actually be brave enough to talk about it and then expose these kind of things. So it is not something that is good for us to have in our society. Definitely is it is against our religion. So I hope the session tonight would be a starting point, an exposure for everybody, so that they would know what to do, for example, if they were to face such a situation, and actually what are the actions that we can take, if not for us ourselves, but for other people whom facing the same situation, and then how we can assist them and what can we do to help them. So uh, I would also like to, before I forget, I would also like to thank the sponsors tonight. I noticed there are quite a few sponsors, so thank you very much for their participation. And I hope everybody will be able to learn a lot from Datin and as well Puan Nur ASHIQAH. Please don't be shy to ask questions. Gain as much as possible information and knowledge from them. They are well experienced people. They have the credibility and knowledge in the area, and then they will be able to give us some input and insights on how to go about dealing with this sexual harassment. Uh, Also, I would like to remind all the participants to actually learn something, and if you have any inclination towards this kind of things, please, this should be a point for you to realize that, hey, this is something that is bad. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to officiate this session. I hope everybody will gain benefit. And before I forget, we are streaming this as well in the KUPTM Kuala Lumpur KL Councillors YouTube channel. The intention is simply to help gain more exposure over the issue, because it's going to be in the YouTube, everybody will be watching it all the time, and people can access it at any time. And if you have friends who are dealing with this kind of issues and you don't know what to do, ask them to watch the video that we have on the YouTube. So again, thank you very much for to the organizers. I hope again on behalf of KUPTM, we will be able to curb this issue. We will be able to control the issue and actually do something about it. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Dr. Shamsu Fauzi. Okay, now let me introduce our first speaker, which is Datin Azreen Ahmad. So, do you guys know that Datin Azreen is the founder of Imago Consultancy and Training Sidran Berhad? She is an image consultant with a diverse background, which are a lawyer, corporate high flyer, and also a dancer. Datin Azreen graduated from the University of Nottingham, United Kingdom with a Bachelor of Law and took Masters in Human Rights Law with particular interest in the subjects of right of the child and women's right. Her passion to empower men and women with the knowledge achieve their utmost potential inspire her to move into image consultation. So it shows that Datin Azreen is a multi-talented woman with rich corporate experience locally and internationally. So, Ko Datin. Okay.
Waalaikumsalam. Assalamualaikum, Ashika as well, Halima and Dr. Shamsul and everyone watching. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Okay, thank you. So let me introduce our second speaker, which is Miss Nur ASHIQAH. Miss ASHIQAH is a lawyer and legal associate of Mrs. Natasha Bashir and Associates. So Miss ASHIQAH worked as a lawyer about 5 years, and she already experienced with legal assistant with a demonstrated history of working in the law practice industry. She has skills in document review, legal assistance, file management, work perfect, and legal document preparation. She has strong legal professional, graduate from University Terjemara, and it shows that Miss ASHIQAH also has many experience in terms of law, such as employment laws and many more. Okay, now let us start our talk show with our first speaker, which is Datin Azreen.
Okay, thank you so much. I've shared the screen on the other comp share. Halima, if you could possibly help me with that. Okay, so topic today, I was told to speak about workplace harassment. Having a legal background, basically, let me just, here you go, you can have a look. So, having a legal background, I did work as a paralegal for 6 years in asylum work, refugee law, immigration, and I ended my career in the UK in the employment department. So, as you can imagine, a lot of sexual harassment cases came up there. But upon coming back to Malaysia, at the time that I came back 16 years ago, there was no such thing as human rights. So lawyers like us couldn't practice very much. So I decided to instead set up a consultancy business and use my legal skills to train a lot of clients and a lot of GLCs, government agencies, government departments, and multinational corporations on the areas of image, leadership, communication, behavior. And as part of behavior, I think about 6 years well, 6 years back, the question of sexual harassment and bullying at the workplace came about, and the safety at work and the safety in schools and universities as well. And I was called by many of the companies to actually create an SOP, or what we call a policy, for the companies to follow, bearing in mind that this policy is going to be in place. It's going to be made public in the public domain for all the members of staff, members of students, academic staff as well. So what happened was, with that approach and knowing that the law, frustratingly for all lawyers, is basically moving and changing very, very slowly. It's only been the last 1.5 years, 2 years, that we've heard more cases of sexual harassment being dealt with, and also to do with what we call rape as well, and what constitutes rape. So today, what I would like to do is I would like to present and do a different approach from other people and other speakers or trainers, and that is to look forward and to look ahead, because a lot of you would have been graduating maybe this year, next year, 2 years, you'll be entering the workforce. So I would approach this in a two-prong approach, from being an academic staff and a student at the university, and also once you get into work, the things that you need to look out for and you can apply from now on. And obviously by that time, the law would have created a fast-paced movement and policies would have been created. Right, so let's have a look at this. What exactly is harassment? Harassment includes bullying behavior as well. It is unwanted conduct, okay? Unwanted conduct that can come in the form of verbal, meaning words, and it can also come as physical. And what a lot of people always associate bullying or harassment with is basically that it has to be intentional. But what you can actually be caught up with is even unintentionally, because we have been pre-conduced to think in a certain way and to act in a certain way. We're programmed by our culture and society that certain things are okay. So we don't actually realize that we are performing an unwanted conduct. And then that unwanted conduct, when it comes to harassment and bullying, has to do with you're doing it for a reason of a protected characteristic. And that characteristic could be age, could be on sex, sexual orientation, disability, people who are having gender reassignments, race, religion, beliefs, political affiliations, and other perceived affiliations as well. And what happens is all this unwanted conduct is done towards an individual group, which are the direct target. So it could be age, sex, sexual orientation, whatever, or it could be conducted towards or performed towards any unrelated individuals. So people who actually witness it or hear it can also be a victim of harassment and bullying. And the reason why that is so important is because it can be an actual, perceived, or linked performance to another person's personal characteristic. That's where the danger is. And a lot of the time in Asia, if you have a look at that list there, we are so used to doing and saying things that pretty much catches out on a lot of those. So what happens with this conduct? It creates an unreasonable interference with a person's academic performance, or a person's work productivity and performance. And it adversely affects the individual's employment opportunities, particularly in cases of sexual harassment. It creates an environment for the affected person or persons that is intimidating, it is hostile, a person can feel degraded, or they can take offense. And this performance of this conduct will violate a person's dignity, which is why a lot of the time the SOPs that we create and put in place in organizations has to do with dignity of the workplace or dignity in an environment. So these harassment and bullying conducts, it can include, but it's not limited to, epithets, slurs, negative stereotyping. Negative stereotyping is, for example, ala relax ah, kau perempuan mana boleh kau angkat meja because kau perempuan. Perempuan is weak. That is one thing. Or it could be the boss turning around and saying, calling somebody sayang, whether it is male or female. The conduct can be threatening, it can be intimidating, where you corner somebody, or it can be really, really downright hostile sometimes. It could take the form of jokes, of pranks that are demeaning and that are hostile. It could take the form of written or graphic materials that you display on your walls, bulletin boards, or other locations or premises circulated in the workplace that would be denigrating or showing or inciting hostility and aversion. Or it could be simply that you ostracize, repeatedly ignore, or subject a person or a group of people to unwarranted or undue attention that they don't invite onto themselves. Now, the one major slip and the one that is always very, very important in harassment and bullying cases is always sexual harassment. So sexual harassment is defined as unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. It constitutes sexual harassment when one or more of the following is true. A person feels that they need to submit to the conduct in order to get or retain a job, or in order to get good grades or retain good grades. A person feels that their employment or grade decisions, such as raises, promotions, demotions, it depends on whether he or she submits or rejects the conduct. And then the conduct interferes with a person's work performance or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. So that is what harassment is. So the harasser, what he actually does is, it can be a he, it can be a she, it can also be somebody who is of an alternative sexual persuasion, meaning those who are heterosexual. And now that we have gender reassignments, we also have transsexuals. So we have to be very, very careful, because harassment, if it's not already being caught out in your workplace or your organization for these particular protected groups, then what happens is it will, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, as the law advances, as people advance, as people are catching up with the times in Malaysia, and they want to be more globally acceptable, they will have these SOPs in place that includes people in the workplace. And we know that these people already work with us. We know these people already study with us. So they are amongst us. So the harasser can be anyone, male, female, heterosexual, or transsexual. Where can sexual harassment happen? It can happen at the workplace. It can happen at your university. It can even happen off-site when you go as an organization to a particular event. So sponsored events by an organization, amongst co-workers, amongst students, that's away from work. And it happens between colleague to colleague, or supervisor, team leader against staff. Third party, which is the client, the vendor or supplier against a member of staff, a member of staff against a supervisor, or any of the above against a third party, which is your client, your vendor, your supplier. So colleague to colleague would also include student, staff against supervisor, or supervisor against staff will also automatically fall under the purview of lecturer towards a student and a student towards a lecturer. So types, there are a few types that we can identify. One is quid pro quo. What does quid pro quo mean? It means that you are directly or indirectly asking someone to submit to a sexual advance in exchange for a particular benefit. So when it's a particular benefit in the university, it's Cikgu or Sir, can you give me, I think you've marked me wrong. Can you reconsider the grade? Can you have a look at the paper again? Yeah, not a problem, as long as you have dinner with me. That could constitute sexual harassment. Okay? Or it could be a member of a colleague, staff to staff. What happens then at the workplace? It could be, look, I don't have time to do this. Could you please file this for me? And then your colleague will say, yeah, sure, not a problem. Or your superior will say, yeah, sure. But understand that you'll get docked off your pay unless you agree to sleeping with me. Or it could be persons of position, of authority, power, or guardianship over the victim. It has to be conducted by someone in a position of power, authority, guardianship over a victim. And guardianship over a victim is very dangerous because that includes lecturers towards students. But you see, students, you also have power or authority over your lecturers. Please bear that in mind as well. Then you have another type, which is creating a hostile or intolerable work environment. And that is consistent and constant sexual or gender-based activity or comment that interferes with a person's ability to do his or her job. So I noticed from one of the comments, someone said, can you take an example or share an example? I've shared one for quid pro quo. For the hostile or intolerable work or study environment, it could be that somebody, again, as earlier I said, you tak payah buat apa, alihkan meja ni. Kenapa? Sebab you perempuan. Perempuan kan lembek. That is sexual harassment. Okay, if it causes offense to that person or it causes offense to a person who hears you. So consistent, and it happens all the time. It's very persistent and it interferes with a person's ability to do his or her job or to get the grade or graduate. And it can be committed by all levels across the board. It doesn't have to be committed by a person who has to be in a position of power, authority, or guardianship. And then you have this one. This is a bit different. This is sexual favoritism, where it is alleged by any male or female coworker or student who feels that a colleague or student's promotion or good grades was granted in return for sexual favors. But you need, in order to make a claim for this, you need to prove that you yourself was denied an equal opportunity for promotion because of this particular sexual conduct. So you really need to have very, very solid evidence of this. Otherwise, it falls under the category of vexatious or malicious claims. So say, for example, somebody doesn't, likes the lecturer, came on to the lecturer, and then the lecturer dismisses them and says, no, tak boleh, kita orang tak boleh ada relationship because I'm your cikgu, it's not proper. And then they decide, okay, I'm going to bring a claim for sexual harassment. How can I do this? Cikgu ni rapat dengan budak ni selalu dapat A. So I'm going to put a claim with my organization or my university that cikgu ni should be investigated for sexual harassment because so dia ada niat yang tak baik kat situ. That's what vexatious or malicious claims are. Yeah. So then, when is it definitely sexual harassment? How do you know that it's definitely sexual harassment? You need to draw a distinction between the advances that are invited and welcome. That means, suka sama suka, both of you agree to do the act, to commit the act. And it's encouraged and it's welcome and it's consistently welcome, right? And it's invited. Then you have uninvited but welcome. That means kita tak suka, tak ajak pun orang tu suka kita or buat kita macam tu. But tak apalah, dia pun handsome, bolehlah. tak apa, I terima je lah. Mana tahu boleh kawan, yang lepas kawan boleh kahwin. Okay, so that's uninvited but welcome. And then you have offensive but tolerated. That means that somebody has done something or said something, and it causes offense to you, but alamak, I tak nak kena buang kerja lah. Tak apalah, I tahan je lah selama I boleh. Okay, so that might already be borderline sexual harassment, okay, if we're not careful. And then flatly refuse. Dia buat, kita tak nak. Dia ajak, kita tak nak. Lepas tu dia buat lagi, dia buat lagi, dia buat lagi. Okay, and we keep on rejecting them. So it is a consistent or a persistent conduct. And it can be very, very, very small things. But when you group it together, it constitutes as sexual harassment, or it can be just one big thing and it's flatly refused. Okay? For example, somebody goes to a party with a group of friends, somebody then drugs the person's drink, and then tahu-tahu dah pingsan, esok pagi bangun, dah macam-macam jadi. Okay? So what can I do? What can I do if this happens or I suspect that this is happening? Right. As a student or an employee, let's tackle that one first. So the first thing you need to realize or remember is that if rape has occurred, our natural instinct is to take flight. Our natural instinct as Asians, as Muslims, is to be embarrassed. And our natural instinct is to think, oh my God, I'm no longer a good person, I am dirty, and it is something that is taboo, and I should hide, and I should hide it. And that's going to give you a lot of problems. One, you're encouraging this thing to happen to another person, or you are tolerating it and you are going to run into the consequences of severe depression, unwanted pregnancies, a lot of other things that would affect you in the workplace and your performance and your grades. So if it has occurred, do not take a shower. Okay, head straight to your nearest A&E at your hospital for an examination. You get medication and then collection of DNA samples. And you also need other evidence, for example, photographic evidence if it is really bad and you have bruises and you have cuts as well. You need to go with a friend or a family member to accompany you to the hospital and then to a police station to make a statement. You do not need to worry. You did not do anything wrong. You did not do anything in any way to deserve what you got. What we usually hear is, oh, dia ni perangai mengada. Sebab tu I ingat boleh. This is where the offensive but tolerant has the issue, because if you tolerate it, people get the wrong message. Then, oh, she deserve what she got. Why? Itulah. Asyik buka tudung, pakai tudung, buka tudung, pakai seksi. We also hear this in our community as well. You never deserve, nobody deserves to be raped. If no rape has occurred, sit down and trace all behaviors. Ingat balik apa yang berlaku daripada zaman first jadi. Record those incidents and occurrences. You write down the dates and timings if possible. Kalau tak ingat the exact dates, then it's okay. Month or year pun boleh. And then you speak to a friend, or you speak to a guidance counselor, or you speak to a qualified expert who could be a psychiatrist, it could be a doctor, or if you are an organization that already has a dignity policy in place, then they would have a dignity officer. Then if there's a dignity officer, you can also ask them or the counselor to help you craft your what we call your launch of case. All right. And then they will also ask you, are there any witnesses? You need to then speak to the witnesses, and you need to ask the witnesses, are you okay to stand in as a witness for me? Then after that, submit your claim to an investigation officer, all right, at the HR department if it is a student that has been sexually harassed by a member of staff. If it is a member of academic staff, you submit your claim also to HR and also to the Students Administration's office. If it is colleague to colleague, then it would be the HR department. If it is student to student, then you need to have an officer in place already to deal with these claims if you haven't already done so. And the workplace, if it is in the workplace, it is always HR. Then you enter into what is called a grievance procedure that is outlined in your grievances and disciplinary procedure. If you are an
Yes,
employee,
Datin, I would like to ask if there is a time limit for the victim. I mean,
okay,
the victim, there is a time limit for to them to report the
yes,
situation.
once the person has sat down or suspects that they have been sexually harassed and sat down and then listed down all these things, it's pretty easy to realize, oh damn, it is sexual harassment. And then speak to somebody if they haven't still realized it yet. And then that person points out and says, it is sexual harassment. What do you want to do about it? So that's the time frame. As soon as possible. If it is something big that has occurred, but it is still not criminal in nature, then what you can do is you can enter into all sorts of things. Maybe you can write a letter, first of all, and then it gets the person who the harasser will then be called, and then you can explain. If that doesn't work, then it goes to students at administrator and also HR. And then if that doesn't work, then it goes first of all into something called mediation. That means you get someone, a neutral third party from outside, to come and sit down and try and figure out how to make sure that everything is okay, and if there is going to be an apology, what the apology is going to be. If you are given a choice for a third party or a neutral party to be a mediator, take the mediation route, because if it is a conduct that is so serious, a sexual harassment conduct or case that is so serious, taking steps to see the mediator and mediate is actually mitigating your circumstances before the grievance procedure. But if there's still denial, then you cannot do anything. You have to go back to the last one, which is the grievance procedure, and then the committee decides, and then kalau buang lah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
But for rape, there is a time frame. It is within 24 hours, basically. You have to go to the police station, and that's why it's important not to take a shower. You have to collect all the samples and go to the hospital to do that. Did I answer your question, Halima?
Yes. And okay, this kind of because we don't know about they are mentally, so they may not think about that thing, about to
Yes.
not to take a shower, something like that. So
Correct.
okay.
Because it's fight or flight, and you flight straight away, and then you dah kena. The last thing you remember in your head is, I got to do this. So that's why these kind of trainings are very important, because at least it's already ingrained in their brain that this is what they got to do, whatever happens. And other people, if they forget, then other people know what to do to help. Yeah. So as an organization or an employer, if you don't already have one in place, you need to have strict bullying and harassment clauses built into your employment contract, outlining clear grievance and disciplinary procedures for all your members of staff. You also need to have an SOP in place for dignity at work or environment, and make sure it is accessible to the public so everyone knows where to access it. And then you have to have counselors, a safe haven for people to bring their grievances if you don't have one already. And if you have an SOP, then the dignity officers who are trained with the policy and procedures to be able to help you. So that's a designated officer. It can be any member of staff. Yeah. You have designated levels of staff to act as investigating officers in the HR department. You know that they also have to be neutral. If the neutrality is compromised, then they have to be replaced with somebody else. Policies and neutrality, and what happens if neutrality or impartiality becomes an issue, you need to make sure that your policies are in place for that. And you need to decide who in HR, who in your council of chancellors will sit on the grievance and disciplinary committee, because they are going to be making decisions that's going to be affecting somebody's life in a major way. And these people need to be trained as well. It could be that a decision like this would affect a student's life, whether they decide in the positive or the negative. There's always going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. And usually the loser's life will always be the one that is placed precariously. Either kena buang university, tak graduate, or kalau kerja, kena buang kerja. Yeah. And if it is rape, it's already gone to the point of rape, then you don't even have, once the investigating officer tengok je benda tu, it doesn't even go to grievance and disciplinary committee yet. It goes straight to the police, and it goes straight to the lawyers, and it goes straight to court. And that's it. But again, our laws are not so advanced. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think ASHIQAH will be able to tell you further. But as it currently stands, the law only protects women from this. They don't protect men, and they don't protect heterosexuals, and they don't protect the transsexuals as well. So those are the things that you can do. And I will wait for the question and answer session to begin. I hope that you have some insight, because I was told to keep this very, very short so that everybody else can talk. Otherwise, I'll be talking for the whole night. Okay. And I will hand it over to Halimah for the next speaker.
Okay, so we have a Q&A session. So do you guys have any question? So before that, I think just now there is some people, some person comment in the YouTube chat. He said about his situation. He said that, "Hi, my boss always stare at me with suspicious look. Is this situation still can say as workplace harassment? I'm really scared." He said like that.
The moment you feel threatened or you find it offensive and you have spoken to the person to stop doing it and they continue to do it, then it creeps you out. It would creep me out as well. But some people are not as strong as others, in the sense that if it happened to me, I would just look at them up and down and say, "Kau kenapa?" Right? But not everyone can do that. So a lot of people, a lot of Asians, they're very quiet and they're very timid. And we're taught not to speak. We're taught to hide. And that's what this whole topic is about. Don't hide, speak out, right? So if it creeps you out or naik bulu roma and banyak kali jadi, despite you telling them to stop, then you need to make sure that HR knows about it. And HR, the person that you speak to in HR, is not biased. And tell HR, "Look, can you please call this person in to have a chat with them? If the conduct doesn't stop, I'm so sorry, but it's happened several times. I will have to make a second report. And then if it goes further, I would like to take it to the grievance procedure and then the employment tribunal and all sorts of issues." I hope that answers your question. Who was that asked the question?
He is a look only. Look je nama
Oh,
dia.
look only. Okay. Look only.
So we
That
have
answers your question about the look only. Okay.
Okay, so we have another comment. Nama dia Sikin. So dia tanya, apa cara terbaik untuk buat aduan sexual harassment di tempat kerja sekiranya diganggu oleh orang kuat jabatan, orang atasan?
Okay, so cara terbaik, you have to go to your company punya organisation punya grievance and policy punya procedure. So cara terbaik, you kena duduk dulu sebelum apa-apa, tengok grievance and policy procedure tu apa, and then sit down with somebody and talk to them. Aku rasa benda-benda jadi, what happens? Okay, if you don't trust somebody in the office, go outside, find somebody outside. And if the person says serious, you've been taking this kind of behavior for so long, okay, then it's time to list down, okay, pada hari sekian dia buat macam ni, pada bulan sekian dia buat macam ni, so that you yourself can see from the flow of everything whether it is or it might not be. Okay, and then you go with question yourself, when these things occurred, how did it make you feel? Because when it goes to grievance and policy procedure punya session nanti, they will apply an objective person test. An objective person test is, would somebody, a reasonable someone who is placed in that position, would they find it offensive or would they find it to constitute sexual harassment? Then after that only they apply the subjective test, which means it has to be the person who is the same age as you, the same race profile as you, the same education level as you, and placed in the same environment or the same position. Do they see anything? Okay, so that's why you really need to have this list of itemized occurrences that creeped you out or that upset you or that you found offensive. And then from there, you ask yourself, does this constitute to me an offense? Was it definitely flatly refused? Did I do anything or did I say anything to this person in order to make it stop? Has it stopped? No, it hasn't. Okay, so then what's my next step? Grievance and policy procedure, go and see your HR. From HR, they will have an IO. An IO is an investigating officer. So the investigating officer, you have to submit your letter aduan, your surat aduan. Usually this is how the grievance and policy disciplinary procedure goes in a lot of organizations. Okay, kena buat aduan, surat aduan. Dalam surat aduan punya dossier tu kena ada your chronology of events, kena ada evaluation by your counselor or your psychiatrist, and then kena ada any witness statements by orang yang pernah tengok or dengar apa yang berlaku. All that you compile and then you submit. The IO will investigate and then the IO will panggil orang tu. This complaint has been made against you. You have the right to respond. Then bila dia respond, dia akan cakap, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize it. Can I see the person and can I apologize? And then if it is so bad, whatever he has done to you, Shikin, then basically it might just be that even in that grievance and disciplinary procedure, surat amaran pertama dikeluarkan ataupun surat amaran kedua. And whatever it is, you need to make sure that you don't keep quiet. You have to tell and you have to make the report, because you might not know that this person has done it to a lot of other people before. I hope that answers your question, Shikit, in a roundabout way.
Okay, we have a lot of questions here. So we have Noreen Arisha Fatiha. Oh, internship always become the victims of sexual harassment at the workplace. Can Datin share with us the basic preparation that internship should have to face the situation?
Okay, so internship is the same. It is a workplace punya sexual harassment. So the same rules apply. I'll give you an example. When I graduated from university, well, before I graduated from university, so in my third year of law school, during the summer holidays is when internships take place for 3 months. Now, with internships, either you go and work and you get paid like normal, or you go and work with a view of obtaining a training contract or obtaining experience with the bar council. So you have what we call inns of court, where you will be an intern under the barrister. So I was doing the other one. I was doing the training contract to qualify as a solicitor in the UK. And as part of the internship, you are attached to somebody who is a trainee solicitor. So they have to go with you everywhere. They have to entertain you. They also have to give their honest evaluation of you. And it so happened that the person I was attached to was making a lot of sexual advances, especially when we went out for dinner with the group, or when we went out for drinks. He would push alcohol drinks to me. He would try and kiss me. And I found that to be very offensive, and I never, ever welcomed it. I flat out refused. And he said to me, if you don't do it, I'm going to write a negative recommendation, which may affect your training contract offer. And it may affect your chances of training with this company, with this law firm, in order to qualify as a solicitor. So blatant sexual harassment there. I straight away went to the partner who is in charge of my department. They didn't believe. I went to HR and they didn't believe. And so it then went to employment tribunal. So for internship, the basic preparation is you have to go for trainings like this. You have to be aware that these kind of things happen. Recognize and always be on the ball. And if something causes you offense, be upright about it, but say it in a nice way. I don't appreciate you calling me sayang, or I don't appreciate you calling me dear, or have a private chat with the person who's harassing you and say, look, why do you keep thinking that because I'm a girl I can't do certain things? Or speak to the person who is responsible for marketing collaterals. Why is it that there's only men in this brochure? Why is it on the notice board or the billboard there's a woman bogil? And all these kind of things. You must always start to practice questioning. We have to get out of the habit of being takut that by using our voice and voicing things out that we're not about things that we're not comfortable with, we have to get out of the rut that if by using that we are going to be labeled as difficult. It has to stop, and it can only stop with us. Otherwise, we are also culpable. If you've ever heard of the phrase, the evil that people do when they do nothing. So if you think someone's doing evil to you and then you keep quiet, you are also doing something evil because you are keeping quiet and you're not doing anything about it. And it's going to breed other things. So you are facilitating these kind of behaviors, and you are being conducive to these kind of behaviors. So it has to stop. People cannot accept it, even if you're an intern. I hope that answers your question, Noreen, right?
Wow, it shows that how important we need to recognize the sexual harassment thing, right? So we have another questions. Hello, Datin. I have a question. What if the harassment is not sexual in nature but is still directed at me because I am a woman?
Then it is called gender-based harassment. And if you have a dignity at work SOP in place, then the same grievance and disciplinary procedures apply. So if you go back to the first slide that I showed after this session, and you will be able to see that there are a few protected characteristics. So it can be gender-based harassment on the basis that you're female. Any other question?
Okay. So mana ni? So many, eh. So we take only only 2 or 3 question, eh.
Yeah.
If I file a complaint, everyone at work will know, and I don't want to deal with that. What can I do?
Okay. This is for the employer. Okay, first one that I've dealt with is you have to file a complaint, because if you don't file a complaint, then you are tolerating it. And when you tolerate it, there are chances that it will just continue to happen until the workplace becomes unbearable, and then you end up walking away. Now, the good thing about employment law is that there's something called constructive dismissal. It's when somebody does something so often, right? And it makes the workplace intolerable. And you have a contract, I think that's, you've been working there for more than 12 months, then you are able to make a claim. But you'll have to check with ASHIQAH what the legal requirements are. But you are able to make a complaint. Jangan rasa malu. Jangan rasa, I don't want to deal with this. People will know. The more people know, the more people are going to stand up for you. And the more people will start to think, dia hari tu dia buat macam tu dekat orang lain, and it's not right. And so I should help this person as well. You are going to be surprised how supportive people are. Of course, there's going to be people who are going to say nasty things about you, and that is what you don't want to deal with and that you're scared to deal with. But it's better to make the complaint. And a lot of organizations now, how the complaint is made, it is anonymous. And when the complaint is lodged, the harasser or the person who the claim has been made against, they are not allowed to speak to anyone about what is going on, because nobody wants to be known as a sexual harasser in the workplace. Let me tell you straight on, there is a stigma attached to that now, especially with more Malaysians and more millennials getting on with the Me Too movement and trying to combat sexual harassment in all sorts of forms as well. Just best not to keep quiet. But if you have to do it, make sure that it is under the understanding that it is going to be dealt with on an anonymous basis and it doesn't get out. That has to be stipulated and a letter must be in writing. So if the person does say something, right, then diorang kena tindakan tata tertib jugalah. Okay? Because it is something, sexual harassment is such a private and personal and confidential matter. I don't think any organization would want to have to deal with that.
Yes, I agree with you. So the last question. So I think this question is quite unique. So I wonder if we can sue the from Nur Natasha Haiza binti Jeff. So I wonder if we can sue the harasser for frequently making jokes on soft porn. Yeah, I mean, there's no evidence about this kind of sexual harassment, right? So how we can sue them for the harasser? Something like
We
that.
can't sue the company, we can't sue the harasser, but we can make a complaint against them to HR and then put them through the grievance and disciplinary procedure, and then they get kicked out if they refuse to amend their behavior. Now, the best way of evidence is seriously record it. If this person is doing it already, they're going to do it again and again and again. And it will happen also in front of somebody else. And that person will become your witness. And then that person will also feel uncomfortable as well. And they'll be able to help you as well. But for me, I would record it.
All right, you are right. So thank you, Dr. Azreen, for your answers to the question. So there are many knowledge actually that we can get from this session, right? Okay. So
Okay, there's
now
one more.
let me. Yes.
Sorry, Lima, there's one. Is it possible to be sexually harassed by
Oh,
someone who is the same sex as I am? Yes, it is possible. Same sex?
wow.
Yes. Girl to girl, okay? Can happen. And then there was another one. Who do I report to? Police department or HR? If you get raped, go report to police department. If it is sexual harassment, then you report to HR. Okay? All right. And thank you
Hmm.
so much, Alima. Sorry about that. Okay, I'll mute
No,
myself
it's
for now.
okay. Extra knowledge. No, it's okay. Okay, thank you, Dr. Azreen, for your for so many information, I think. So I hope that you guys take note all the notes. Okay, so now let me invite Miss ASHIQAH to start her talk show in this webinar.
Hi Halima, thank you. So, Datin
Hi.
Azreen, you're like very nice. I couldn't even prepare one actually. So, you guys are just gonna hear me explaining everything without any visual help. So, yeah, okay, let me just start. Halima, it's supposed to be on the law first, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me just explain on that. Okay. Actually, there's three law which cover sexual harassment. There will be under Penal Code, under Employment Act, and also another one is under Industrial Relation Act, which Datin Aziz did touch a bit just now. So for under Penal Code, I'm sorry guys, there's no visual to show here. Just hear me blabbering about Penal Code. Under Penal Code, there are four sections which cover on sexual harassment. The first one is Section 354 of Penal Code. This is about molestation. This is an assault or use of criminal force on person with intent to outrage her modesty. So I'm going to explain on the punishment as well. This topic is quite dry. This is all about law. Datin Azreen's part is very interesting with all such information. Right, so much information on that. So I'm going to touch on the dry topic, the legal one, the law. The punishment for Section 354 of the Penal Code, it is imprisonment with maximum 10 years or fine or rating or any two of such punishment. Then another one is Section 355, assault or use of criminal force with intent to dishonor a person, then otherwise than on provocation. And that one, for that punishment for Section 355 is imprisonment maximum 2 years or fine or both. Okay, for Section 3, the third one is Section 377D, 377 capital D, outrages on decency. The punishment for that is imprisonment, maximum term of 2 years. And the last one is Section 509 of Penal Code, word or gesture intended to insult the modesty of any person. And the punishment will be imprisonment for a maximum 5 years or fine or both. So that's pretty much on Penal Code, the law for sexual harassment inside the Penal Code. Moving on to the second law, this one governs the employment. Just now, DATIN AZRENE gave so much information on university and also some on employment. I'm going to talk about the law for employment. DATIN AZRENE already discussed the definition of sexual harassment. So I'm not going to touch on that. I'm going to straight away go to Section 81A of Employment Act. Basically, in Section 81A until 81G, all this are talking about the procedure or on what the employee can do when a sexual harassment occurs. So Section 81A, the purpose for Section 81A, this is about any complaint relating to sexual harassment made by any employee against another employee. Just now DATIN AZRENE explained on this. And the second one is by any employee against any employer. So kerja ke boss. And then the third one is employer lodge a complaint against the employee. So there's three kind of complaint there. For Section 81B under Employment Act, okay, for this one, when the employer receives a complaint from the employee, the employer or any class of employer shall inquire into the complaint, okay, in a manner prescribed by the minister. So usually all these companies have their sexual harassment policy. Not all, but most of the companies do have sexual harassment policy. So whenever they receive a complaint from the employee regarding sexual harassment, they must inquire into this complaint. After the employer receives the complaint, the employer just now DATIN AZRENE did explain about the grievance procedure, right? So that is what the employer should do after receive a complaint. They're going to do the domestic inquiry and everything, and they must explain to the employee, give the findings of the inquiry to the employee. So another mode of lodging a complaint is just now. The first one, there's two. One, you lodge the complaint to your employer, to HR. The second one, you can also lodge a complaint directly to Director General of Labour. So if a complaint of sexual harassment is made to the Director General of Labour, then the Director General shall assess the complaint and direct the employer to inquire into such complaint. Because you may just now there's a question asking if they don't want to lodge a complaint to the company because she don't want anyone to know about this. So if there's another option for you to lodge a complaint, it's either directly to the employer or you can go to Director General of Labour. But eventually, the Director General of Labour will direct the employer to do the inquiry on this complaint. Okay, right. And then under Section 81E for the Employment Act, if the Director General, that's one is Section 81B, right? Okay, Section 81E, sorry. The Director General, if the Director General decides that there is a sexual harassment after inquiry, okay, this one is if you go straight away to Director General, right? Then Director General may terminate the perpetrator contract of service without notice. This is under Section 81E of Employment Act. And if the complainant terminates the contract of service, basically even if without notice, the employer may give there's some compensation if there's termination to that perpetrator. It's very dry, right? I'm sorry, but I have to
No, it's
deliver this.
okay. This is so important, I think. This
This is
one,
so
I think
legal.
we can gain many knowledge in here.
Yeah. Okay. That just now I already covered on Employment Act. So now I'm gonna go to Industrial Relation Act. Datin Azreen did touch on this. If you can harass for a very long time and you cannot tahan anymore, and then you resign, it's a constructive dismissal. So under constructive, if you resign due to the sexual harassment that occurred to you, you may claim to the court for either reinstatement or compensation in lieu. Okay, or compensation in lieu. So any employer who is dismissed unfairly or resign from employment as a result of sexual harassment can apply for reinstatement or compensation in lieu lah. Okay, this is yeah. If you okay, I think I already covered on that. Industrial relation. Act.
Miss ASHIQAH, I would like to
Yeah.
ask if she or he reinstate due to the law because she want to reinstate but she met with the harasser again. So
Okay.
what do you think about it?
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the question. Okay. For that, actually, it's not in all cases that the industrial court will allow a reinstatement. But the procedure is whenever you file for a case in industrial court, you must plead for, you must state that you want a reinstatement because that's the procedure. That's the jurisdiction of industrial court. That the court will go through the facts and see if reinstatement really necessary in certain case. Because in some cases, when the relationship between the employer and employee is already sour, okay, you cannot revive the relationship between them. The court may not award the reinstatement, but the court will give compensation in lieu of reinstatement. So instead of reinstate the employee, the complainant, the court will give compensation. Let's say this is for the constructive dismissal. The complainant resigned due to the sexual harassment. So when she resigned, that case due to the sexual harassment, that will fall under constructive dismissal, right? So she filed the case to industrial court, and the court will say, okay, this case we cannot reinstate her back lah because the perpetrator is still there, or maybe the relationship is not good now. So instead of we reinstate you, we will give you a compensation. Let's say 6 months or 12 months already passed since she constructively dismissed herself from the employment. So the court will give the compensation for up to 12 months. The maximum is 24 months. The maximum compensation is 24 months. So it depends on the court's discretion to give, but maximum is 24 months.
Thank you, Miss.
I
Now I understand.
Ah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so the last one, okay, I already covered on the Industrial Relation Act. There's another one. It's actually the Parliament. There's a anti-sexual harassment bill. It's actually on the first reading at the Parliament. The first reading was held on the 15th December last year, 15th December. So it still has not been passed yet. This is a good improvement on the sexual harassment law, because previously, currently, we don't have a conclusive law, a very rigid law that can protect everyone. But in this anti-sexual harassment, this is extensive to compare with other provisions. It is a good start, but of course, there's always a room for improvement. So we have to wait for the anti-sexual harassment bill to be passed in the Parliament, which I'm not sure when. We need to wait for the second reading on this. Okay. The next one, I'm just going to talk. There is two guidelines that Malaysia have. Okay, one is under the Ministry of Human Resource, but this is a very Tajuk punya guidelines. It is called a Code of Practice on Prevention and Eradication of Sexual Harassment in Workplace. This was introduced in August 1999. It is a guidelines done by the Ministry of Human Resource. This is to encourage employers to adopt the Code of Practice against Sexual Harassment, and also an internal mechanism to prevent sexual harassment at the workplace. But again, I said this is just the guidelines. Apparently not all companies have sexual harassment policy in their company. Some companies don't even have any sexual harassment policy. I'm pretty sure Datin AZRENE have encountered so much cases on this. Some have, but some don't even have. And when these cases happen, they don't even know. The HR don't know what to do. The company don't know what to do. Even we have this kind of guidelines. And there's also another guidelines. This one is for Public Service Department, Pekerjaan Awam. In 2018, the Public Service Department issued a circular. This one is a Garis Panduan Mengendalikan Gangguan Seksual di Tempat Kerja dalam Pekerjaan Awam. This is a more comprehensive guideline for handling sexual harassment that for government servant, pekerjaan awam. Okay, I think I've covered all the law. And is there anything else that you want to know, Halimah?
Okay, so for me, I think I'm pretty sure that I understand about the laws, because some of the laws that you just stated to us, most of you us heard or listened, because we have business law, so we know a little bit lah.
Okay. Oh, that's
Yes.
great.
So we quite understand what you are talking about. So we have a question in the comment. So from Iklima Huda binti Muhammad Haidir. Hi Miss Shika. I have one question. What is the worst case related to sexual harassment based on your experience? I mean your experience or your friend's experience.
It's not really worst case, but there was a case I handled once, but it did not go to a serious stage where go to court. It's just at the stage of just a letter agreement. So during that, the very long time case actually, if I can remember correctly. The complainant came to me asking for legal advice. She get this sexual harassment from her colleague. Her colleague will give this verbal sexual harassment, and also sometimes a physical harassment, sexual harassment to her. The colleague will come close to her and brush off his body against her body, or sometimes just invited this lady to go out for drinks. It's actually a very classic sexual harassment case. Then this lady cannot tahan anymore. So, but she don't want to lodge a complaint to the HR because she's very nice. She don't want to kacau this his period nasi lah basically. Okay, she's a very nice lady, but she cannot tahan. She cannot take it anymore because it just not happen once. It happens for a repeated events. So she wants to issue a letter of demand. The letter of demand is very basic. So before you go to court, usually the procedure is you issue a letter of demand to that person to demand whatever you want. So this lady wants to demand the perpetrator to stop doing his behavior, to stop sexually harass her, to stop talking about the dirty comments. She cannot accept such behavior. And then so when we send the letter of demand, surprisingly, the perpetrator did stop doing all that. He did not reply to that letter of demand, but he stopped. He didn't even talk to that lady after he received the letter of demand. Because he's very scared lah now kan. So when you receive a lawyer letter, then you don't want to do anything lah kan. So before that, because this lady doesn't even complain to the HR, so he kept doing whatever he wants to lah. So once he received, it is a simple letter of demand actually, just to asking him to stop doing all this. Look, just stop doing your behavior. Stop kacau this lady. Okay. Your behavior is not welcome at all. And he stopped. I'm surprised that he stopped because usually whenever people receive a letter of demand, they just ignore it until later get serious, go to court, only then, why you sue me? Things like that. But he stopped lah. He stopped. It's just one case actually. It's not worse, but just one case.
Yeah, you are right. Thank you for the answer. So we have another question. So from Nur Natasha Haiza binti Jeff. So she asks, is there any act falls under legal law for organization that not taking action towards complaint, reported sexual harassment that has happened against their staff or the students?
Come again, sorry.
Maksudnya
soalan dia?
dia punya nama dia Nur Natasha Haiza
Nur
binti.
Natasha. Okay.
So
Falls under legal law for organization that has happened against their staff or students. Oh, okay. This one, you can actually file it. Just now I already explained under Section 81D of Employment Act. 81D. Yes, if I remember it correctly. Yeah, 81D. So you can lodge a complaint directly to Director General of Labour. So instead of you already complained to the HR, but HR did nothing. So you straight away go to Director General of Labour. So for the Director General will assess the case and direct the employer. Look, this is we received a complaint and you must take action on this. You must inquire on this. So usually when company receive this kind of instruction from the higher up, this is not even Director General is not even in the company, right? Someone in the government. So whenever they receive this kind of instruction, they will do something about it. Yeah. So it falls under Employment Act. But actually, to be honest, Employment Act did not cover everything. So I'm just explaining on what we have here. Okay? It falls under Section 81D. Nur Natasha Haiza. I hope I answer your question.
Okay, so the next question is from Nur Shazana binti Johari. So she asks, Miss Shika, what happened if there is no witness to claim of sexual harassment? So what happened?
Okay. If you have no witness, it's okay. Actually, it's okay if you have no witness. But you must have proof to support your claim. You are saying, look, I've been sexually harassed by this person. But you cannot just say it with your mouth. It's your words against his words. But if you have something, you may not have witness, but if you have a paper trail, Okay, for example, this is not the first time that happened. Okay, the first time the incident happened, you did report to someone. Maybe you did not report to HR, but you report to your boss, your immediate superior. You report to your manager maybe, okay? Or you report to your colleague, someone that is really close to you. So you can use that as a proof. It's not a concrete proof, but at least you have something. Look, I did not report to HR. I don't have any witness. But when the first incident happened, I did tell someone about this. They know about this. That is the first one lah. Okay. But if you can, whenever that happens, always put it in writing. Always put it in writing. It be it in email or official written report to HR or to your immediate superior is also okay. Okay. If you don't want to report it to HR, at least email it to your superior. There's no harm in just email it. At least you have a paper trail to show. I immediately inform my boss this happened. If your boss sexually harass you, then you tell it to someone else. When my boss sexually harass me, I inform another person by email. So you must have a proper paper trail just to protect you, just in case, you don't need a witness, but if you have, that's very good. That's very nice to support your claim. But if you don't have, make sure your paper trail is in order. That is a concrete evidence for sexual harassment, because usually people don't even do a report. Whenever the first incident happens, you just keep quiet and do nothing because it's just the first time. It's okay lah. We always think like that. But if you can, just please put everything in writing. Email is also okay actually. Email is better lah. You just email and CC everyone. If you can CC everyone, just CC someone close to you so that they know this happened. If it's happened for the second and third time, then they already know, oh, this is not the first time it happened. Okay? I hope you answer.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right. So the next question is Nur Anati binti Muhammad Zahir. She asked, should I protect the privacy of the complainant or alleged harasser? She asked. So I think she want to ask, maybe lah, yes, should we protect the privacy of the victim kot? Maksudnya maybe the victim ask the don't want to make a report because she afraid maybe lah, and the friends maybe she want to try to make a report for her friend, I think lah.
Okay, I'm gonna answer in that angle. If a friend want to report it, you may help her to report, but eventually that person is the one who need to lodge a complaint, lodge a report. Because if a third party is lodging a report for you, it's a hearsay. Meaning to say, it's saya dengar cerita, kawan saya kena macam ni. So it's not even your word, it's your friend's words. So the complainant must report herself. In any cases, the complainant should report that particular incident herself. So the second one is, should I protect the privacy of the alleged harasser? You just have to name it to your HR. You don't have to announce it to the whole world. Okay, you don't have to tell everyone, oh look, this person is harassing me. You are telling everyone. You just have to, if you don't want to do that, you just have to inform your HR. Look, HR, this person is harassing me. So there's only two person that should know about this. You and also the HR. The other person should not know about this, about the harasser.
I see. Okay, from the next question is Faiz99. So he asked, if the incident happened to the worker outside of the workplace, will the report claim will be clarified?
So, but it's still concerning the employee, right? Okay, even if it happened outside the workplace, you can still report it. If I understand the question correctly, if the incident happens to the worker outside of the workplace, would they report? Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. You, even if it happened outside, not at your workplace, not at your office, not at your room, your cubicle, you can still report it. You can still report it. And okay, let's say lah, if you work at a construction company, so you go to site and then there your maybe your superior or your colleague sexually harass you. After that incident, you immediately report it to your HR. You don't wait tomorrow or the next day or maybe lusa lah, I report to HR. Today I'm very shocked. I know it can be very traumatizing incident, but you have to do this. Whenever it happens, the first thing that you should do, go report first and have a peace of mind after that. Okay? If you don't report immediately, then there was the perpetrator might say, oh look, there's already 2-3 days passed. What happened during the 2-3 days? Itu alasan yang the perpetrator gonna say. The defense lah, the defense. So whenever it happen, even if outside the workplace, outside your office, happen at the site, or maybe masa nak pergi makan ke, jadi masa dekat tengah jalan, tepi jalan with your colleague, then it happen, you must report it immediately to your hospital. And it will be clarified, of course.
Oh, something like that. So what if kalau if he the harasser ask the victim to not tell the his friend, and they want to go alone, to everywhere. So I think it's kind of the situation. Okay, dia buat macam tu juga. I mean, maybe he want
maksudnya
to
bila keluar.
yes, dia ajak keluar 2 orang, and then dia kata janganlah ajak kakas kerja lain, macam tu. So dia orang yang pergi tu dia macam takut tau, macam nak pergi ke tak dengan lelaki ni. So we don't know, nothing happen now, we don't know anything maybe happen. So should
Okay.
he
Okay, in that situation, so whenever that perpetrator, that person invite you to somewhere, to go somewhere, if it's work related, always ask him, this is regarding what? This is for what? And where the instruction that he got to bring you, if is of the same level. Okay? If it's someone superior, maybe your boss, always inform your colleague that you're going outside with that person for working. Okay? Always inform somebody. So if anything happened to you, they know that when that incident happened, you are actually with someone. Who is that someone? That someone is your colleague or your superior or whatever. Even if that person, janganlah beritahu siapa-siapa. But please protect yourself. Please inform anyone. Lagi-lagi someone inside your office. Just inform someone inside your office. You're going out for work things with my boss, with my colleague. Okay, I will be back in 2 hours, 3 hours. Just inform them. Right? So if something happen, the office know siapa dengan you waktu tu. So dia boleh shortlist siapa the perpetrator. Macam tu.
I see. Okay. So the next question is from Alif Alias. Wow, there are so many questions. I think they are curious with the laws. So, what is the suitable punishment to the sexual harasser?
Oh, okay. That one, it actually depends, okay? Depends. So, if you file it, hold on, if you file it under employment, if it's under Employment Act, the punishment will be, let me just check on that. Hold on. Bear with me. Okay. The employer eventually the employer have the power to do what they want. The punishment will be the employer either can terminate the contract of service or maybe give a suspension for maximum, if I'm not mistaken, the maximum is 2 weeks. 2 weeks, that one is under Employment Act, section 81E, not mistaken, 81E. That one is under employment lah. Okay, if you go for criminal, that one you need to lodge a police report, and then the police will take action from there. Sorry, it's under 81C, 81C of Employment Act. My apology. So if under 81C of Employment Act, the company may dismiss the employee without notice or downgrade the employee, okay, turunkan pangkat ke, turunkan gaji ke, or another one, maybe a lesser punishment, which is just now, the suspension without wages is imposed. Okay, but that one is only up to 2 weeks. It's just a 2-week suspension that is under Employment Act.
Oh, I see. I think I heard that the laws. Yes. So, from Asma Nazira, she asked, oh, it is about internship situation. So, if the internship have involved in sexual harassment from their employer, and they have been terminated with no relevant reason, is their internship can get their right from the law? Claim the employer with proof. She has a proof, but
For
internship.
internship, yes, actually you can, but depends on what you want from the employer. What do you want actually from that internship? If you are gaining wages, so you might want the compensation. If you don't have, because some internship don't receive any we don't call it wages. The what is it now? I can't remember. It's not even wages for the internship. Some are just doing it for free, for pro bono. You just go intern and do works and learning something from the company. So if that happens, yes, of course you can. You can that you have rights under the law. So you can claim from the employer for the compensation if you receive any allowance. Yes, allowance. If you receive any allowance from the employer. If not, if you're not receiving an allowance, then you might want, I'm pretty sure you don't want to continue your internship there, so you might want to just look another internship program in another company. But of course, your rights are always protected under the law.
Oh, something like that. Because I'm in one of the of the person who will have a future internship next time.
I see.
So I think we will need to know all of this.
All the best
So
for your internship.
yes, we're kind of afraid. So the next question is from Ikmalicious. So he asked, "How is the procedure for seeking legal help about sexual harassment?"
The
He asked,
procedure, seek
yes.
legal help, meaning you want to go to lawyer. Okay, I suppose you can always just go to you can just call any firm you want for legal advice. Some firms do it for free legal advice. Some firms do have some minimal fee. Okay, but I'm not going to talk about that. So the procedure is just you just call, because you're asking for the procedure for seeking legal help, right? If you want a legal advice, go call any firm just for seeking legal advice, or maybe you know someone have a legal background knowledge, so you can just ask that person. Or if the last resort you don't know what to do, just straightly go to the police and lodge a police report for sexual harassment. Okay, so the police will help you from there. If you really don't know what to do now, you have no one, nobody know about law, nobody know about what rights that they have under the law, then the last resort is for you to just go to police and lodge a police report. You can lodge a police report, you know, if you don't want to lodge a complaint, if you don't want to make a complaint to your HR, or maybe you already lodge a complaint to your HR but HR did nothing, you can also lodge a police report just to cover you. If lagi-lagi dalam case yang you don't have any proof, you don't have any, for example, you don't have any sexual harassment in form of WhatsApp ke, call ke, you have nothing. But when that incident happened, you did lodge a police report. So that police report might help you later. Okay, so if you don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, just go to the police station and lodge a police report for sexual harassment. The police will explain everything there and take further action from there. Okay, I hope I answer your question. It's malicious. Delicious.
So for those the free legal session that you said just now, so I really interested about how we can know that firm have a free legal session, or maybe some of the employee don't have much money to pay the lawyer, right, to defend themselves. So what do you think? Ada tak yang free punya that can help those people?
Ada that falls under you can also go to legal aid, but legal aid dia punya, they can give you free legal advice, but dia punya not jurisdiction lah, the power that they have to bring any case is very limited. Okay, bukan semua case yang diorang boleh bawa, but if you need a legal advice, you can go to legal aid. Legal aid, every state has their own legal aid, like for Selangor, they have one, insyaAllah. I'm not sure lah yang lain-lain tu macam mana. Tapi ada. Setiap negeri dia ada legal aid dia. So you can just call. Just Google legal aid and you boleh call or boleh set an appointment untuk seek a legal advice. Untuk for law firm, you can just call and ask, I have certain question. Do you have any charge for legal advice? For the first legal advice. So usually, not all firms pun yang charge. Macam most of the firms tak charge pun for the first meeting. Okay, sebab dia is just a legal advice. It depends actually. So, but the free ones, you can go to legal aid.
Okay, understand. Thank you. So we have a question lagi. So many question there. I think the audience really interest about the laws and about this kind of issue. So from Zara Ariana, hi Miss, nak tanya situasi dekat tempat kerja, contoh pekerja tersebut kena sexual harassment yang teruk dan dalam pergelutan pelaku tu, orang yang buat sexual tu, dia terbunuh. Adakah pekerja yang kena sexual tu dapat pembelaan? Wow, quite difficult soalan ni.
Dah jatuh under criminal dah. I'm not a criminal lawyer by the way, but I can advise as much as I know. Okay, so bila dah terbunuh tu, it straight away go under criminal lah, under penal code just now. So police yang will bring the case, and pekerja yang bergelut dan menyebabkan sampailah berlaku kejadian itu, you have the right to defend yourself. Of course, you have the right to defend yourself in criminal law. Okay, cuba macam mana how you want to defend, that one is a separate issue lah. Okay, for the sexual harassment apa semua tu, you kena prove on the sexual harassment. Okay, dia macam ni, even if you bergelut ke apa ke, how do I say this? I'm not even a criminal lawyer, you know. I'm afraid I'm giving a wrong advice on criminal. but if, okay, the very basic is kalau dah sampai terbunuh tu, memang it straight away go to criminal law under penal code. You can, in your defense, you may want to plead about the sexual harassment and whatever lah. But eventually, the court will look at what happened during that incident. So yeah, you boleh memberi pembelaan, sama ada mahkamah nak menerima ataupun tidak, itu terpulang kepada mahkamah. Okay? Yeah.
Well, quite difficult that question.
Yeah.
So, the last question. Okay, last question ni kita ada soalan yang sama. Miza Degil and Nur Natasha Haiza binti Jeff. So, dia tanya soalan yang sama. She asked about, they asked about, are we legally allowed to use carry pepper spray? Boleh ke bawa benda tu dekat office? Dia orang tanya. Benda tu untuk protect
Okay.
ourselves.
Okay. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, paper spray is actually illegal untuk you bawa. Tapi there are some it's not, I can't call it weapon. Tapi pepper spray is illegal for you untuk bawa. You can bring barang lain for self defense, but try to avoid pepper spray. Yeah, because I did came across this question a lot. Memang kita pun dulu pun I pun ada je bawa je pepper spray for self defense kan, but now I don't bring it anymore lah because it's illegal. If something happen, yelah, instead of we want to self defend, then suddenly kita pula nak kena menjawabkan kenapa menyebabkan kecederaan dekat orang tu. Yeah, that one also under, I can't remember the law, so sorry. but it's illegal for pepper spray. You might want to bring any other self-defense weapon, okay, barang-barang lain untuk self-defense.
Yes, I think boleh letak yang apa yang button yang siren tu kan, yang
Yes,
siren.
that one.
I think
I
this
have that
one
one,
is
you know.
most. Oh yes, I think I
It's
should
very
buy.
helpful. Yeah,
Really?
because it's kind of loud. Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
okay.
if you're driving, kan, you go to mall, you seorang-seorang, so it's good to have one. Because sometimes when you are very startled, you don't even have the voice to scream at that point of
Yes.
time. So you might just tarik je benda ni kan masa tu lah. So at least someone tahu, aware that something is happening somewhere.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so that is the last question, I guess. Tak ada dah. So, thank you, Mishika. Do you guys take note all the laws that have been mentioned by Mishika? So, there actually banyak gila boleh dapat lah dari dia, right? So, in fact, there are many information that we can gain from both of our speakers, right? So, we have a Q&A session as a general. So, I mean, the audience who didn't have a chance to ask the question just now, or we may termiss lah. So, you may ask anything that related with the topic to both of our speaker. So, maybe one of two question only. So maybe there's no you punya internet slow sikit, akan lambat sikit sampai dekat YouTube live. So I think I have one question. So I would like to ask both of you guys opinion. So if someone my colleague ask a date, you know, dating, ajak date. So is it a sexual harassment? You know, because if he keep asking the dates, so and I don't feel not me, and this is a situation. So that person is don't feel macam tak ada perasa uncomfortable, just macam annoying je. He keep asking about that thing. So what do you think about this kind of situation? Is it sexual harassment? Okay.
Siapa nak menjawab? ASHIQAH jawab dulu, ASHIQAH.
but Datin punya explanation on definition is very good. So if it were to me, kalau I rasa very not comfortable with someone asking me to go out for a date, bukan sekali, right? Sekali we can forgo, right? If it's just one time thing, one time je asking for going out for a date. Tapi if it's repeatedly, I consider it as sexual harassment because I don't even have the interest to go out with that person. So why do you even bother to ask me like 2-3 times? One time is okay. That is my personal opinion. One time is okay, but if you're asking me like 2-3 times, that is sexual harassment to me, because because we colleague kan, sometimes they mungkin just joking. One time okay, but second time is a no go for me. That is amount to sexual harassment. That is my personal opinion. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think outlined. You have to go back to the conducts, whether it is invited and welcome. Then, if it is uninvited but still welcome, okay, or it is uninvited but tolerated, and then basically you flatly refuse, and it happens over and over again. So there's the degrees there. Kalau welcome and invited, kalau the guy asks you for a date, you dah suka dia, pergilah date tu. It's not sexual harassment. Okay. Tak bersalah berkawan. Bersalah in certain there's some companies, they have the policy where you are not allowed to have intimate relations or relationships with your co-workers. And the reason is because sometimes kalau kau gaduh, korang berdua nanti kan you disrupt the office and you disrupt the productivity and the efficiency. That's why that policy is there. Bukan tak boleh date langsung, but if you are going to be boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever, you might have to request for transfer departments. So you work separately, and that's also the reason why in the civil service and also a lot of companies, if you're husband and wife, you cannot work together in the same department. You have to be in different departments. Okay? But tak salah if somebody asks you for a date. It's not sexual harassment. But if the guy asks you for a date and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to go out with this guy, I don't like him, that means it becomes unwelcome and it's uninvited. So if it's uninvited and then you tolerate for a while, okay, tak apa sekali. Uninvited again, ajak you for a date, it's still tolerated, dah 2 kali. Dah jadi kerap dah ni. Apa pasal pula lelaki ni? He cannot take no for an answer when you've already flatly refused twice. Then it happens again. You turn around and say to him, look, I have no desire to have any type of relationship except for a professional relationship. If you have a problem with that, then it's best that we don't get assigned together, or we don't work in the same department, and I'll ask for a transfer because it's getting a bit uncomfortable for me. Kalau the action still persists, then those small little actions constitutes into a bigger action, which makes somebody, remember the definition, it creates a hostile or uncomfortable or aggravated working environment for you. If that thing creeps you out, I will be creeped out if the guy keeps asking me for a date and then like I say no and he's still going on and on about it, and I've told him I don't like it. So then it can be sexual harassment already. Okay, so that's why you have those different stages there. Correct me if I'm wrong, ASHIQAH. Tak salah untuk berdating, tak salah untuk ajak orang keluar makan berdating, tapi kalau orang tu kata tak mau, kau ajak juga, kau degil, kenalah siap kau.
Wow, okay. Okay, macam tu ya. So we have a question. No Natasha, she asked, if the lecturer straight away asking and pushing female students for having a video call alone together for extra mark for assessment purpose but seems very fishy, is that considered as sexual harassment? So what should the student do? I think she wants to ask that.
Okay, that's quid pro quo, if I'm not mistaken. And the female student should say no. Usually, kalau video call or conference call, if it's to do with discussion of extra marks because you have asked for a remark, and he's going to give you his decision and why he decided to mark it again, and then what marks you got, then it's not sexual harassment. But if it is for no purpose other than you have to have a video call with me and only me without anybody else present, if you want me to mark your paper instead of a B jadi A, that's quid pro quo, because the person is in a position of authority or power or has guardianship over a student. That is already considered sexual harassment. Correct me if I'm wrong, ASHIQAH again.
Yes, correct, Datin. You already answered it nicely. I don't even have to add anything anymore.
So we have a question from my friends. Maybe dia ada situasi ni kot. Maybe dia pernah nampak situasi ni. She said, if they macam sekarang we have a viral thing, right? So about sexual harasser, he or she may harass the victim, and then victim tak cakap apa-apa pun, but viral dulu keluar, you know. Faham tak dia cakap macam tu? Maksudnya viral dulu, maksudnya semua orang dah tahu buka Twitter lah and so on, but you know, maybe victim rasa macam dia malu lah. But how do you think about this situation? So maybe dia, what should the victim do at that time? Maybe semua orang dah tahu, something like that. So what should they do?
Maksudnya, sorry Halimah, so maksudnya the harasser yang viral kan pasal the victim, is it? Maksud, ada tu viral pasal ni, I tak tahu pula.
Dia cakap macam contoh lah kan, saya pun tak faham salah sangat. Dia just cakap kalau lah benda tu macam orang record CCTV maybe. So dia memanglah takut sebab dia tak nak expose benda tu, but someone expose the CCTV maybe dekat dekat the website kemana-mana je, and then semua orang dah tahu ni nama victim dia siapa and then harasser dia siapa. So macam seorang victim tu dia kena juga ke report sebab dah semua orang tahu, sebenarnya dia takut. Maybe lah kita tak tahu kan, person, maybe someone berani, someone takut. So what do you think about the victim?
Okay, so I think if all that video already gone viral, so yelah, the first thing is dia did not even lodge any report to the company, and now when that video go viral, in my opinion is she should go and report. So okay, maybe masa that incident happened, she might not have the courage to go. Probably she don't even know, she don't even have any witness or any proof to support her case. So that is always the case lah in sexual harassment. Okay, dia orang tak nak report just because I don't have any proof, I don't have any macam recordings ke or whatever happens. So how can I prove my case? So that's why they never go and report to the company, to the HR. So if that video gone viral, she should go and report about that incident. At least she do have something now. Okay, maybe previously she don't even know that the CCTV is working. She might not know about that. So when that video go viral, my opinion is she should go and do a complaint on to that harasser about that incident. Yeah. Maybe DATIN can add some more.
Okay, I think for me, we're so used to being on the age of social media, right? So we kind of like all these viral things. Like Malaysians are so fascinated by controversy, and before any complaint is made, we leak all these things. Please understand that that's evidence, and it involves two people whose lives could change dramatically. Rather than you viral it, you might as well bring it to the correct person and the correct department and say, look, this has happened. And this, if it's a security guy, he'll be like, okay, this has happened, this is a CCTV. Or if it's the victim, dia tak nak buat a claim because she doesn't have evidence. Well, if she had spoken to the right people who are trained, they would be able to point you to the CCTV. Are there any CCTVs at that particular area where you sit on that day, you kena at that time? Then they will book out the CCTV because they keep those tapes, and that will be your evidence already. So there's a lot of evidence gathering that you can do in all sorts of different places. And then for the person that leaked or viral it, please understand, when you viral something or you leak something that is private and confidential, that is that is private and confidential property, nanti you also will get into trouble. So you better, daripada you viralkan, lagi elok you pergi kepada the correct person and serahkan the tape. That is my advice. Don't cari controversy and say, "Sweet, look, this person did this," and then the whole country will be in uproar. So.
Yes, I think I agree with you, both of you. Yes, you're right. So that is the last question, I guess. So thank you, Datin Azreen and Miss ASHIQAH, for the answers. So we hope that all the audience that asked the question get the answer. Okay, so now we will have a lucky draw session for the 50 audience who register our webinar early. Okay, so let us begin the lucky draw session. Okay, so wow, so there are many participants, eh? Okay, so our first lucky person is Muhammad Nur Arman bin Nur Zaidi. Okay, congratulations. So the second person is Nurul Amalia Fariah binti Muhammad Hatta Junidi. Okay, congratulations. So the third person is Nur Azlina binti Abdul Aziz. Wow. Okay, congrats. So the fourth person is Nur Aina Mardia. Okay, the last person. Nang Alia Shahida binti Long Muda. Okay, this is the names of the audience that will be received the lucky draw. So congratulations. Okay. So for those who win the lucky draw, you may contact our team, Miss Iklima. So Miss Iklima will share the form to fill in the YouTube live chat. So you may do so to get your rewards. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, we already have reached the end of this webinar. So thank you so much for the speakers, Datin Azri Ahmad and also Ms. Nur ASHIQAH binti Muhammad Arif for spend their time to share the knowledge for the audience. So we hope that the audience can gain the information from this webinar, and thank you to all the audience who spend their time to join us. So not to forget, thank you to our Deputy Vice Chancellor of Student Development and Campus Lifestyle, Dr. Shamsul Fauzi bin Osman, for his willingness to integrate this webinar. So we are also beyond grateful to KBTM and also our lecturer, Madam Hidayatul Husna, and also Pembimbing dan Kerjaya Siswa Club for giving us the opportunity to handle this webinar. So thank you also to our sponsorship, SKB Brand, Tarikh Kitchen, and also by Nedi for sponsor our webinar. So thank you so much. Thank you, Datin. Thank you, Miss ASHIQAH. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Halima.
No
Thank you,
problem.
Dr. Abdul and TM and everybody that has actually signed on and asked so many questions. So you've made the session really lively. Thank you so much, guys.
Yes.
Thank
I think
you for
because
inviting me.
yes, because the topic is quite really related with our surroundings. So maybe they are really love to ask the question. So thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.